There is most definitely a controversial opinion, maybe even two, in this video. Hi, welcome back to my channel and welcome to something a little bit different today. Now, I don't know how many times in the last few videos I've been saying, oh, I'm trying to catch you guys up with where I am with my reading. It's just not happening. I don't seem to be able to find the time to film each week. And obviously as the weeks are passing by, I'm reading more books, so we're getting further away. So I thought, right, we're going to change things up. I'm going to do mini reviews of 6 of the books that I've read recently, but haven't spoken to you guys about, in one video. If you're just keen to see what I think of 1 or 2 of those, I will make sure that I put timestamps in the description below. There's a real mix of genres in these 6 books. So I think we've got a few thrillers, contemporary fiction and historical fiction. So if you're interested in any of those, keep watching. Of course, the first book that I want to talk about is on the bottom of the pile. Would have helped if I'd been organised, wouldn't it? Anyway, so the first book I wanted to chat to you about is the Sanatorium by Sarah Pearse. Hopefully you can see that. This is a thriller. It was a debut novel from Sarah Pearse, and it's set in Crans, Montana in the Swiss Alps in a, as you can probably guess from the title, in a previously now disused sanatorium, which has recently been completely renovated, refurbished, and is now a luxury 5-star hotel. In case you don't know, and I didn't, I had to look this up before I started reading. Basically, a sanatorium is a place that people go to convalesce or to recover from an illness, and in this case, this particular sanatorium was for people who were recovering from TB. You have no idea how many times I tried to say that full word. I'm not going to try it again because it's gone wrong every single time. Basically, we follow the main character, Ellen, and she is at the, I was going to say the sanatorium. She is at the hotel celebrating her brother's engagement when his fiancée goes missing. Of course, a storm sets in, so the police aren't able to come up to the hotel to investigate what's going on, who's done it, and Ellen has to kind of step into her professional shoes. She's a detective, which I guess is pretty handy in this case, and so yeah, she basically needs to work out what's been going on, try to find her brother's fiancée, but at the same time another woman goes missing. I must say I didn't warm to Ellen particularly. She was quite cold, she was quite a distant sort of character. We understand why though, because she's got quite a lot going on in her professional life, no spoilers. She also made some pretty stupid mistakes. She made some silly choices, and at times you kind of found yourself almost like shouting at the pages. I loved the short chapters. You know how much of a fan I am of short chapters. I love the sprayed edges. I know some people aren't keen on that, but I actually really like that and think it sort of stands out on my bookshelf. And as you can imagine, being set high in the Swiss Alps amongst a sort of snowstorm, the setting was very spooky, it was very atmospheric, and the story was very gripping. It's a typical thriller, it has you on the edge of your seat. Each chapter seems to end on a cliffhanger, so you're almost like, I'll just read one more chapter. But the ending was a bit of a disappointment, I must say, and I've had a look on Goodreads and it has mixed reviews, but I always feel like I want to judge it for myself. Also the epilogue. I've never read a book that is so clearly suggesting a second book as this. So before I came on to film today, I thought, I'm just going to check that out, and yeah, this is part of a 2-book deal, and it is so clear from the epilogue. Will I be reading the second book? Yeah, probably. I did enjoy this, don't get me wrong, but also I just want to have everything tied up. You know how I like things neat, and it feels as though it's not quite at the end of this book. So I am going to be scoring the Sanatorium by Sarah Pearse 3.5 stars out of 5. Okay, next up we potentially have a controversial opinion incoming. I really hate to be the person to do this. So this is obviously Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid, another one of those books that I would say is spoken about so much on BookTube, on Bookstagram, and again, I had FOMO. I also had previously read Evelyn Hugo, so The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I have done a full review of that book, so I'll leave that linked in the description below. After having read that and absolutely loving it, I picked up Daisy Jones and the Six. They say it reads like non-fiction. Basically, it feels real. And I would definitely agree with that, it definitely does. But for me, it didn't live up to the hype. I think I was expecting 5 stars from this. And I think, if I'm honest, it's actually probably the format that it's written in that I didn't get along with. I don't think it's the story itself. So as you can see, so as you can see, it's written in interview style format. So it switches from one character to the next, getting all of their different viewpoints. And that style of writing to me feels quite disjointed. I never felt as though I was entirely immersed in the story. Now, I definitely think that this is a personal opinion. I think that, wow, it's true. So many other people have picked this up and absolutely love it. But for me, that style of writing isn't for me. This is historical fiction, and in case you don't know, it is basically about Daisy Jones, as you can imagine, who is a singer in the sort of 60s, 70s, and it's all about her rise to fame when she joins the band The Six. It also follows a lot of the story between Daisy Jones and the lead singer of The Six, a married guy called Billy, and there's a lot of tension between the two of them. Again, no spoilers. Now, this is probably really controversial, but I wanted to give up on this book about 20% of the way through. I just really wasn't getting on board with the interview style format. But you know how much I hate DNF a book, so I carried on, and I'm actually so glad that I did. The ending is brilliant and it's so clever, and in a way it turned it around for me. So I went from wanting to just put this down, never pick it up again, because I never do once I DNF a book, to actually thinking, wow, that was quite amazing. I mean, Jenkins Reid is such a great writer, and it kind of all came together at the end. But for me, it didn't quite live up to the hype, and for that reason, I'm going to be giving Daisy Jones and the Six by Jenkins Reid 3 stars out of 5. Please don't hate me. Okay, next up we have The Authenticity Project by Clare Pooley. Now, this was one that Michael actually picked up for me in a supermarket. He chose it and went, I think this is right up your street. I mean, he can pick my books forever if this is what they're like. This is probably one of the most feel-good books I've read in a long time. I think it's classed as contemporary fiction, and it's basically based around a community of very different people in Fulham in London. And those characters are brought together when Julian, who is a retired artist, he's very eccentric, he decides to write down the sort of truth of his life in a journal. He then leaves it in a cafe, hoping that someone else will pick it up and write their truth in it. Basically, the Authenticity Project. Julian leaves the journal in Monica's cafe. Monica picks it up, puts her entry in it, and so on. And in doing so, it really brings some very unlikely characters together. So we have Hazard, he is a city boy, he is an addict and he's trying to get sober. We have Alice, who is sort of an Instagram mum. The life that she posts online is very different to her true life. Those were actually my 2 favourite characters in the book. And each chapter is a different character, so you get to know them all really, really well. This is a book about community, it's about belonging, but it's also about putting yourself out there. Now, the ending was quite sad, but happy at the same time, if that can be possible. And there were parts in this book that would never happen, but if you just go with it, allow yourself to sort of just be wrapped up in it, go with the flow, it's such an enjoyable book. It's almost like kind of someone giving you a warm hug. So I'm going to score The Authenticity Project by Clare Pooley 4 out of 5. If you're looking for something that's really easy to read, very feel good, then definitely pick this one up. Okay, next up we have The Guest List by Lucy Foley. Now, when I said, I think it was a couple of videos ago, that I was getting into thrillers, a few of you commented saying you definitely need to read some Lucy Foley if you're getting into that genre. So I saw this on World of Books. If you don't know World of Books, I feel like I bang on about it all the time, which is why I laugh. So World of Books is basically a second-hand bookseller online where you don't pay any postage, which is absolutely amazing. So yeah, I got this on World of Books and I thought, right, well, I need to see what everyone is talking about. I need to see why it's so highly recommended. So the book is about a wedding that is taking place on an island off the coast of Ireland. The groom is sort of this up-and-coming TV presenter. The bride is a magazine publisher, both very ambitious people. And the week before they get married, we find out that Jules, that's the bride, she found a note on her doorstep telling her not to marry Will. So Will is the groom. The chapters are written from different guests at the wedding, and I must say the only person I actually warmed to in the whole book was Hannah. She is a +1 of one of the guests at the wedding. The others I could take or leave, and that's probably why I didn't really care when someone got murdered at the end. No spoilers here, it actually says that on the book itself. So a storm sets in on the island. Obviously that means that people can't leave the island, the seas are too rough. Obviously that means then there's a power cut. It felt a bit sort of cookie cutter template for a thriller. I don't know, maybe I'm just being a bit mean, or maybe I've read so many now that I'm starting to understand the sort of the themes that run through them all. I don't know, am I being a bit mean? Again, it did have really nice short chapters, love that, and the ending was a lot better than what I thought it was going to be. So I think it was 4 people in my mind that I thought could have done it, and it was none of them, which actually I really liked. It was someone completely unexpected, but when you think back through the story, you start to sort of pick up on little bits and you're like, oh yeah, why didn't I see that? Overall, I enjoyed it. It was okay. I wouldn't say it's as fast paced or sort of left on a cliffhanger as the Sanatorium. I would be keen to read more Lucy Foley books. So if you have any other suggestions, or if you've read this and you've read some of her others and you think the others are better, please let me know in the comments. I can see here that she's also written The Hunting Party. I don't know if that's any better. But yeah, so I am going to score The Guest List by Lucy Foley 3 out of 5. Book number 5 is, I think you would call this another thriller, is it? It's Just My Luck by Adele Parks. So I saw this in a charity shop recently. I think it was something like £1. When I read it was about a lottery win, it intrigued me. I've never read a book that is about people winning a huge amount of money. And I don't know about you, but how many conversations do you have with people around, if we won the lottery, we would ... Such an interesting conversation. So that's kind of what made me pick this up. The story is about 6 really close friends who are in a syndicate together for the lottery, and one Saturday night their numbers come up and they end up winning £17.8 million. But it's not as straightforward as dividing it 3 ways. Basically there are 3 couples. Again, I'm not going to give anything away. The story really shows that actually money can't buy you happiness, and actually in some cases it can make you utterly miserable. So the book is mainly told through the eyes of Lexi, the mum, so of the family that buy the ticket, and also Emily, so she's the daughter of Lexi. And you get those 2 different perspectives as you go through the book. So much happens in this book that actually I forgot some of the storylines until they were picked up again. I'm not going to give anything away, but I would say towards the end I did have an idea of who did it, which made me feel quite like, yeah, I got it this time. Maybe I'm getting better at thrillers. I'm not. But equally I was a bit like, oh, that's a bit disappointing. I'm kind of gutted that I got it. I was wanting some sort of big reveal or surprise at the end and I didn't get it. But it's still really enjoyable. It's also quite a clever book. So I'm going to score Just My Luck by Adele Parks 4 stars out of 5. So the last book I wanted to chat to you about today, I don't have with me. I have passed it on to my dad to read, which may give you an idea of what I thought of it. And that is, I'll insert a photo here of the cover because you know how much when I'm watching videos I love to see the cover of a book that we're talking about. So that is The Lido by Libby Page. Now, we read this as part of our work book club, and at work I'm based in Leicester Square in London, and quite a few of the people that I work with live in sort of southeast London, and this book is based in Brixton. And actually I loved that about this book. I've spent quite a lot of time in London. I lived there for 12 years, and I feel as though this book really does describe London in a very accurate way. Now, I haven't lived in Brixton or around that area, so some people may be like, no way, does not at all. So just let me know if I'm wrong, but generally the sort of elements of London life I think are done really well in this book. So the Lido tells the story of Kate. She's 26, she's a journalist for a local newspaper, and Rosemary, who is 86, a former librarian, and basically it tells the story of their unlikely friendship. The council is threatening closure of the Lido after having received a bid from Paradise Living. Paradise Living want to concrete over the Lido and put in a luxury gym, sauna and tennis courts. Rosemary has been swimming at the pool for 80 years and it holds a really special place in her heart. She used to sneak there with her late husband when they were young. So the chapters flip between current day, and we really sort of see this blossoming relationship between Rosemary and Kate, who are coming together to try to stop the closure of the Lido. And then we also go back in time and we learn more about Rosemary's relationship with George, her late husband, and the importance of the Lido in her life. I know I was saying this with the Authenticity Project, but this is such a sort of heartwarming book. It's very, again, it's very community based. I was so close to being able to film a whole video without having to change either my battery or my SD card. But just at the last minute, of course, my SD card was full. So apologies if the shot has changed a little bit, but we're nearly there. I'm trying to think where I was. So yeah, the Lido, very feel good, all about community. Obviously, as I said, about unlikely friendships. It was a little bit predictable at times, but I guess, as I said with the Authenticity Project, sometimes you just, that's what you need. You need that kind of book in your life. You're just happy to go along with it, enjoy it, not question it too much. And so if you're looking for something like that that's just very easy, very feel good and warm, I would thoroughly recommend the Lido and also the Authenticity Project. So I am going to score the Lido by Libby Page 4 stars out of 5. And that is it. That is my first ever book wrap up. Sorry, that's probably really annoying, isn't it? Just a little stir. I hope you enjoyed that. I realised it was a bit sort of whistle stop. Let me know what you think of this format, because if you enjoy it, it might be that I need to do this occasionally throughout the year if I've struggled to kind of update you on where I am with my reading. I actually really enjoyed that. It was quite fun. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. As I always say, if you did, please give it a thumbs up. It honestly really helps. And if you're watching this and you haven't already, but you enjoy book reviews from thrillers, contemporary fiction, romance, chick lit, historical fiction, book hauls, any of that, please press subscribe, come and join us. We're getting quite a nice like little community here. One quick thing before I go, talking of Taylor Jenkins Reid earlier, I am just finishing Malibu Rising, which is her new book. I think it came out June the 1st, so it hasn't been out that long actually. Let me know if you'd like me to do a full review video of that, because that could potentially be my next video. Just let me know what you think about that, whether you'd be interested in it. Is it more Daisy Jones or is it more Evelyn Hugo? Which way will it go? Will it be a 3-star read or a 4.5, 5-star read? I can't remember what I rated Evelyn Hugo, but I know I absolutely loved it. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you again back here next week. Fingers crossed. Well, I will have another video for you. Thanks for watching. Take care. Bye.